health product researcher and distributor for many different companies, many different product categories. So in this video, I'm going to be covering a infrared sauna company out of Canada I have been working with for a very long time. They've been in the industry a long time, and so this is their new model that just was released. So I'm going to cover it because it is unique in the industry. And if you have any questions about this, just please respond below in the comments, or you can directly email me. I do provide my email address. I do deal with many sauna companies. If you have questions, I've analyzed the heck out of them for, I think, going on 10 years now. So I'd be happy to help. So first thing you'll notice with the top-down view is that there is this front door coverage. Okay. All right, so let's have a closer look here. All right, so the wood, if you're wondering, is basswood, and it is solid basswood. Okay, so there's one unique feature about the company. There's really only a few companies in the infrared sauna category that use the same wood type all the way through the sauna. If you've watched my old videos, I talk about the importance of, if you're going to invest a few $1,000s, you should invest in something that's the same wood type. So it's just basswood. So if you look at the interior frame, it's just basswood. If you go underneath the floor here, and go under the sauna, or on the other side of this basswood board, it's basswood. Okay. If you go on the ceiling and you're looking down on the ceiling, it's basswood. So this is really, really important because you want to make sure that your sauna definitely has no chance of off-gassing toxins. And plywood, which is used in, I don't know, probably 85% of sauna brands, if not more, often will use plywood in the floor and the ceiling. So this is really, really important. If you heat up plywood, plywood's made with a lot of adhesives and cured in formaldehyde. You want to make sure that all that heat, expansion, and contraction is not going to be breaking down those materials and off-gassing in your space. So again, this is all solid basswood. Basswood, by the way, is considered to be one of the more hypoallergenic woods, just so you know. So if somebody does, have a lot of histamine sensitivities and asthma and that type of stuff, just probably best to go with basswood. Anyways, so first thing is that corner saunas, they're not too popular in the industry, or not as commonly made by companies. And I actually really like them. I think they are, if you're going to have another person in the sauna, and you could obviously fit, you could squeeze more than, one person in here, but generally two is really comfortable. So in other words, it's not a huge corner sauna, so it's nice. It actually will fit in the corner of a room and be tucked kind of out of the way, so to say. It looks quite nice to be able to tuck it into a corner. Versus kind of jutting out, somewhere along the wall, so to say. So that's one nice thing. And if you're sitting here, and I'll actually show you a little photo here. So there's many different seating arrangements. As you can see, she's pretty tall, and you can actually be pretty comfortable by just having your knees just slightly bent there. And it's just really nice, especially if you have a little backrest behind you, to have that option of putting your feet up. And then, as you can see, there's also a kind of like a little bench you can put in or out if you want to. Some people like to sit back there. Let's see if we have another. I know I have another photo around here somewhere. So some people also like to just put their feet out like this on top of it. And it's pretty much about the same distance as going this way for the most part. So it comes optional, but you don't need to get that little bench there. But as you can see, I think if you're going to have somebody else in the sauna, just trying to find my photos. Here's all the different seating arrangements that you can possibly do here, which is kind of cool. But yeah, if you're going to have somebody else in the sauna, let's see if I can find that photo. It is kind of nice to be able to face one another if you were talking. And so that is one thing that a lot of people like about having a V-shaped, like this corner. If obviously a traditional sauna has just one bench a lot of times that you face forward on, right? So, which is not obviously quite the same, right? Because you're just seated right next to one another. If it's just a straight bench, versus that, so it's kind of obvious, right? So let's get into this a little bit more. So one thing that is actually unique is this large carbon emitter panel, infrared panel on the glass door itself. So if you go and you look at other corner saunas on the market, there is currently no other brand that has an infrared emitter on the front glass door. Okay, so this is a nice thing to have because it increases your power concentration. Okay, so here's simply a way of calculating cubic feet, so the space inside of a sauna divided by total power. Okay, and that is one way of saying, like, how much emitter power, right? How much infrared heat power do we have available for the space? Okay, now this is a normal thing to calculate if you're just any sauna company making sure that your sauna can get to 140 degrees or 120 degrees. You just want to make sure it performs and it can actually reach certain temperatures. So they obviously have to calculate these types of things. However, they're only calculating to a certain extent of what's going to meet the average spec of temperature that most consumers would want access to. So 100 degrees up to 140 degrees, right, is common to see for infrared saunas. So they want to make sure that, of course, their saunas get there, right, in a convenient amount of time. However, that's not the... There is differences when you get to making these calculations, as far as some sauna companies simply providing more power, more infrared for your body. And that is something that you can use to make a comparison, let's say an apples to apples comparison between brands and models. So Sun Stream has consistently provided a lot, if not the most, power per cubic feet of infrared. One of the reasons is kind of obvious, because we have a huge, large emitter, right? So we got them on the behind the calves, and we have them underneath your feet, which is a little more uncommon. Some sauna companies don't have any on the floor. Some have them just behind your calves, or vice versa. A lot of times it's either or. Then obviously we have them on the walls. They're lower down the walls. If you notice, they're lower, they don't go higher, because your body is at this height, so it's concentrating more power onto your body, okay, at that level. And then we have them on both sides. Some sauna companies that do corner saunas, they don't have them on the side walls, and that's one thing to note. And then they also sometimes have a window on the side, depending on the corner sauna. And then sometimes some companies just have an emitter on one side of the sauna, or they'll have them at an angle. So there's a lot of variables, and it's kind of like at this like strange angle to the bench, and they don't have them again on the side walls. So this is probably the best layout I've seen currently for maximum infrared radiation of the body in a corner sauna. That also, one of the reasons, besides just making sure that you're getting like 360 degrees of infrared, another reason to have them on the side walls is, of course, in the picture I showed you earlier, where you can lay against the side wall. And it does give you that, so that way if you lay that direction, your back will, your back is a big part of the surface area of your body and your organs, so at least your whole backside gets exposed. That is one of the other main reasons that's there. Is so that you can have that alternative position. But again, having that front emitter on the glass door really does make a big difference in the efficiency of the sauna. But it's something you can definitely really feel the intensity of as you're sitting on the bench. That is a characteristic feature, by the way, of all of their models, not just the corner. But that does definitely also, that's a big thing that sets it apart from other corner saunas. So one thing to note is, I did make a mistake. I don't want to slip my mind, but Canadian Hemlock, great wood, and again, also the grade of the cut of the wood. There's a lot of things to look into with saunas. It's really nice with this brand. I like Canadian Hemlock. I like it a little bit more than Chinese Hemlock for certain reasons. So that's always nice to see. And it's a wood, if you don't know, that's been used historically in the construction industry for many different purposes, including cabinets, just because it's very, very durable, and it holds up well over time, and actually tends to get stronger over time as well. You will not really find much of a smell other than like a normal wood smell. Like, oh, all woods kind of smell like, wood when you go in the sauna. But it's not really like any particular volatile oil sort of smell or anything like that. So hemlock's a nice wood too. It's very hypoallergenic, very similar to basswood in terms of really the kind of the color of it and the hypoallergenic aspect of it. So let's scroll on down here. Another unique feature is very low electrosmog levels. It's actually the lowest I've seen out of any brand. I have tested it in some old YouTube videos as well. And shockingly, when they say that it's pretty much zero, okay, when it comes to measuring the volts, okay, the millivolts, which is more associated with ELF, okay. If you've seen like Clearlight or a couple other companies talk about that, some people are maybe a little more sensitive, and that's fine. This legitimately doesn't really change whether the sauna is on or off when I was doing my testing. So I will just tell you that no other brand that I've found can make that claim. So you can go kind of look up the people that have done tests with meters themselves, and I think maybe like the next lowest out there with the ELF that I've seen, I want to say it was around 100, something like that. And you can easily kind of find that on YouTube. But yeah, this is it's breakthrough. Nobody has it. So literally, I turn the sauna on, I turn it off. The meter literally doesn't change, which is pretty cool. So that's that. And then as far as the magnetic field over here, that is pretty much, you can move that around the panels, which I have done in a video. And those pictures, if you want to see those, are, I can email those to you as well. But that's basically the average. You're pretty much always getting under 1 milligauss around the sauna, which again is technically, as of 2024, and these types of saunas being around a long time, that's about the lowest that it will probably ever be for milligauss. So if you're waiting for something to get lower, it's probably not going to happen. I don't know, maybe another 10 years from now. But so that's the lowest you can do. Some people get a little hung up on electrosmog. It's helpful for some people who really truly do have some serious sensitivities. But for most people, they are getting exposed to a wide variety of radio and microwave fields, which are more disturbing, and or keeping their phones on their body and things like that, Wi-Fi. Those are things that are really a much greater concern than your sauna. Okay, just to be clear. There are some saunas for sure out there where these types of levels are much, much higher. And if somebody's going to be using that sauna frequently, it's, might not be good if it's really significantly higher. But really, these days, I'm more concerned about microwave, cell phones and Wi-Fi and things like that. People holding devices with the Wi-Fi turned on. Those types of things are astronomically more damaging and disruptive than these types of fields that you might find in a sauna. So don't get too hung up on it, but if you are looking for something super low, that's literally the lowest you can go. So we did already kind of touch on this point here. And the other piece here too, which I usually touch on, it's actually a pretty good website, that the way that they lay these things out, because these are actually all very good points. So the cloth covers, you will generally find that a lot of times. So on top of the emitters here on the wall. So you can't really quite see in these photos, but there is no cloth covers at all, which reduces the infrared output just a little bit. There is one company that has a certain material that they use, which really doesn't diminish the infrared, but for the most part it can diminish it a little bit. Also, some cheaper saunas may use like flame retardant chemicals, so it won't catch fire if they're covering it up for the obvious reasons. If it's heating up a material on top, you might have a fire risk. So some of those materials are you should be concerned about. At the end of the day, you always want the ability to wipe down the emitters and keep them clean, especially the floor. And so it's just as simple as removing these magnetic covers here, and then you can just easily wipe it down. And I use a microfiber towel, so very easy to clean, which is important because they do get dirty. You just kind of splash sweat on there, or just exhaling your breath, your pores, and you do want to clean them at least a couple times a month if you're using it a lot. Most glues in the industry, most glues these days, even if they're not FDA certified, most saunas use like pretty much the same type of glue because it's the cheapest, and most are completely non-toxic. However, there are definitely some sauna companies out there who don't disclose what type of adhesives you're using, but really more so what the actual concern is plywood, and which was my first point about making sure that the sauna is the same wood type all the way through the sauna. Even some mainstream brands that are charging a lot of money, you'd be surprised if you actually just ask the sales reps or companies out there. You'd be surprised some of the bigger companies that are actually using plywood. It's shocking. And then there are a couple big companies that do not use plywood, but it's few. It's very few and far between. So that's something that's more important than this issue here. Is again because of the way they're curing the plywood, and for sure it's done with a lot of adhesives. Cedar backrests, better to have than hemlock or basswood, just because cedar is a little more resistant to sweat and stain, and it's naturally a little more antimicrobial. One point that I made here earlier, if you see this talk about high watt density, so that is something I've done videos on. So basically, it's what I shared before. A lot of saunas, brands out there using carbon emitters, they will have, see the end of the emitter is already right there. That's about the size of your torso. You see what I mean? It basically is about up to most people's shoulder height. But if you're going beyond that, further up the wall, obviously that infrared or those infrared rays are not penetrating the body, right? When they're far above the head or the torso. So it's kind of just sending infrared into the air. And it's, it'll keep the sauna warm, but it's superior if you're going to be doing infrared ray therapy. Most of the power that goes into the sauna and through the emitters is going directly onto your torso, correct? Because it's the infrared that you're trying to use to warm your core body temperature. And so this is what is referred to as high watt density, which is simply what? You're just calculating the total surface area of the heaters. So be, in inches or meters or whatever you want to do. So you calculate the total square inches, let's just say, of all the heaters, divided by the total wattage. So like that corner sauna, remember, was like close to 2100 watts. And then you can basically figure out what the watt density is, like per square inch or whatever you want to do. And then that actually you can kind of like roughly calculate at your shoulder level, torso, calves, feet, like how much of that wattage that's supplying a sauna is actually going into infrared rays that go into your body, right? Does it make sense? Versus going into infrared rays that are not going into your body. They're just kind of shooting off into space. I'll just wrap up here just to show you the nice visual. But yes, as I said, you can clean very easily, magnetically pop these off. And believe it or not, some sauna companies, like, you literally can't do that, which is kind of crazy. So part of just keeping your sauna from smelling, honestly, it doesn't really have much to do with how efficiently your sauna is being heated. These things work fine. It actually more has to do with like smell. So you just want to, especially on the floor, more so than almost anything else, you want to keep it clean. If you're using it every week, I would wipe it down every week with the microfiber. If you don't, you will kind of have a little bit of like some splotching sort of stain, which is really like actually mineral salt residues from your sweat that can kind of dry and cake on. And if you really don't even want to deal with wiping that down, it's very simple. You would just simply get yourself a cover that was like a porous towel. You basically just put a towel on top of there. There is some interesting towel materials out there that don't diminish the infrared as much, and you can message me about what that is. They have a lot of carbon in the material, and that's nice. It's nice to use one of those ideally, just so you don't diminish the infrared coming up into your feet. And getting infrared into your feet is good because a lot of blood supply ends up in your hands and your feet, to not get into the biology of it. So, you know, wherever you have a good blood supply, you do want to radiate with infrared. And I'll just kind of show you kind of all the models here, the newest one being the corner that we kind of covered, and 3-person, as you can see, still have the infrared emitters on the doors. And we go all the way down, you know, and so some of the differences with the repeats comes to wattage difference, in case you're getting confused and you're thinking like, isn't that both per 2 people, right? You know, I'm so confused. Well, part of the difference is one will have more watt density because it's just a little bit more intense, just so you know, so don't get confused there. And then the single, and then of course the very popular and unique mini, which I've done a video on. You can look on my channel, which is reviewing mini infrared sauna. This is fully enclosed, but smaller technically than a 1-person. Still 360 design in terms of infrared. And again, nobody makes anything like that currently, except for this company. If you have any questions about this company, or kind of want to know how this one compares with other brands and so on and so forth, I can offer that guidance anytime for free. All you got to do is email me and just let me know what you're looking at, and I will kind of give you some insights. Thanks for watching.